Mhm.
Can you hear me good?
You good? Can you hear me?
Okay, Frank, let's get it going. Good evening. This is another edition of Lee's Feed.
Hold on a minute, Lee.
Mr. Frank Smith.
Hello. Mm-hmm.
Stop that. We don't cut that. I'm going to cut that out.
Yeah, I had to run now. I'm on a Zoom call now. I'll call you back. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm on Zoom.
Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to Lee's Feed. Our guest today is Frank Smith. Hold on, Frank. I got we'll pause it again. Good evening. Welcome to Lee's Feed. I'm your host, Lee Coleman. And today I have the very much excited, enthusiastic opportunity to talk to Mr. Frank Smith. Mr. Frank Smith is the chairman of the East St. Louis Democratic Party. And he has a specific program he wants to talk to us today about. And I want to remind our listeners that this recording will be sent to YouTube. So I'd like for you to subscribe and like this particular channel, Lee's Feed, former Charter Communications public access channel host of Talk of the City in East St. Louis, Illinois. So Mr. Frank Smith, how are you today?
I'm fine, Lee. How are you?
Pretty good. Frank, you and I talked a little bit about this fantastic voters registration draft you're going to be talking about today. But before we get into that, let's talk about your bio. Let's learn a little bit about Frank Smith. Who is Frank Smith?
That's a big question, Lee. I should have brought a TV in here so you could play my life. So who is Frank Smith? Frank Smith is a man who has, for the last 48 years or more, has been out in the struggle, fighting for what is right for our people. You might say, well, Frank, how have you been doing that? I've been marching, I've been sitting in, I've been beat in, I've been jailed in, I've done all the necessary, I've done all those things in order to try and bring some kind of freedom to our people. And we've done a lot, as you know. I've been on your program before. I am now chairman of the East St. Louis Democratic Central Committee, but it didn't come easy. It was a long struggle to get here. And I've been chairman now 4 years. We're getting ready to go into the next 2 years after June the 28th. And if the good Lord bless me, I will be the chairman for the next 2 years. But I must say that at this time with the venture that I'm going into, it's shaking some people up, and they've got some people in my back door that's nipping at me. But God is good, and I have faith that we're going to make it. So that I maybe sum up to you what who you're talking to.
Okay. You're an activist. I know about you being an activist with the Black Egyptians back in the day. What office did you hold in the Black Egyptians back in the day, back in the 60s?
Back in the day, I had just returned from Vietnam, as you know. And there were some buddies of mine that they were contemplating putting a group together, okay? And my suggestion was to put together a real strong Bible group that can help fight during some of the times that Martin Luther King was marching and some of the other stuff Black Panther Party was doing and what. So we organized what is called the Black Egyptians. Took us 2 days to pick that name. We was up night and day trying to figure out what would we call ourselves. We wanted to have Black in there, and we wanted to make sure that we would be original. Who can be more original than the Black Egyptians, you see? And I hope the noise in the background is not bothering you, Lee. That's my camera. Okay, you need me to cut that down, I'm sorry.
Okay, so what made you take off your activist hat, or maybe related to the SAP for a minute, and get involved in politics? You were the city treasurer, and I think you were a commitment at one time.
City clerk, I was city clerk. Well, what it was is that by me, you know, the thing is that you can only fight outside of the system for so long, okay? And we weren't gaining any ground. And the thing that I saw that politics, every time that we asked for something, we had to go to some kind of political guy to ask for it, some kind of politician to ask for what we wanted, which was our right to have, okay? So the idea came to me that, hey, we need to get involved in the political process. And the only way that we can do that is that we got to run for office. So my buddy Joe Harrison, remember Joe from SIUE? So me and my buddy Joe, Joe and I had the same idea of running. Hold on a minute, please. If you don't mind, just for a moment, please.
Can't hear you, Frank. Your audio went down.
Okay, I'm sorry, man. I was interrupted there.
Okay, Frank, you were talking about your friend Joe. Let's talk about Joe.
My buddy Joe. You know, Joe was professor at SIUE. I know you're very familiar with Joe Harrison. A lot of people are. Joe also felt that we needed to get into politics. So the first time that we ran, we called ourselves running for alderman, and we got beat. I got beat by 3 votes. Now, actually, I got beat by 1/4 of a vote when after I sued and they started deducting the vote. But anyway, it came down to the fact that I lost by 1/4 vote for Alderman, and Joe lost by 1 vote. Okay, so in that course, we decided we would run for precinct members in our respective areas where we live, and we did that, and we became precinct members. Both he and I were precinct members in the Democratic Party. This is during the time in East St. Louis where there were 52 precincts. And his was 45 and mine was 50 precinct 50. So with that being said, in the course of the years, as we went on, I decided that I would run for an office. And that office I decided I would run for would be the city clerk. Because during that time, the mayorship was turning over because Carl Officer was trying to form a ticket. And the ticket that he formed was him for mayor, me for clerk, and Charlie Powell for treasurer. So it was Officer Smith and Powell, the ticket. And we run. This was in 1989, if I'm not mistaken. And we ran.
1979.
1979. We ran and we won. And I think, Lee, this is where you came in into government. Am I correct?
Purchasing department, I came in with Carl Officer. I was on this administrative team, and you were the clerk, and Charlie Powell, my mentor, was the treasurer. Yes. Was the treasurer.
And we with that, I served 8 years. Charlie and them, they served 3 terms, but I served 2 terms. And after that, I did get in some trouble, you know, and I got to say it because that's my life. and it took me to the penitentiary. And in the penitentiary, I saw brothers and sisters, brothers that I had been speaking of, had I been fighting for. I began to see them. So in the penitentiary, we organized a group, and every guy that got into the GED classes, we would, on the yard, we would celebrate with them with ice cream, sodas, and we'll present them a gift, either a pair of tennis shoes or a pair of jeans, you know. But it gave the guys an incentive. A lot of guys got the GED. Some of them got some college degrees because they had the college also involved in the penitentiary. So they went in one way and came out another. And they've been some pretty good guys that have been working in society. One of them being Benny Price. You know, Benny worked for the Department of Children and Family Services. He got his degree in Menard Penitentiary.
Okay, so after the treasurer's, the clerk's run, what did you do after that?
I just told you, I went to jail. Okay, and not that I really had done anything, but it was an opportunity for Great White Fathers to put a number on my back, and they did that. And just like the rest of the brothers that are out here on the streets, I became what they call an ex-felon. And with that being said, I could no longer run for an office, because no ex-felon can run for an office. So my idea.
How did you rehabilitate yourself? Because a lot of people have been, have gotten into trouble, made mistakes. How did you really rehabilitate yourself?
Well, yeah, I must say, one of the things that I had a beautiful mom. Okay, she has since passed, and she never really turned her back on me, no matter what I got into. And she helped me a lot. And also, I met a beautiful lady whom I'm married now 26 years to. She really helped my life, helped me to rehab my life and be in the position that I am right now, along with my church, Power Change Christian Church, the Bishop Henry Phillips and Pastor Patricia. They've been a big part in helping me to rehabilitate. But the biggest was my wife. She was a God-fearing woman. She's still a God-fearing woman. And she got me to see that, some of the things that I was doing was not right, And by being married to her, she helped me. That helped my life a great deal.
Then you got back involved in politics, and here we are today talking about your voters registration drive for St. Clair County.
Yeah, my whole deal was that I felt that people has been disenfranchised, okay? Especially those that have left the city of East St. Louis, Washington Park, say Fairview Heights, or not Fairview Heights, but Cahokia Heights. I keep getting that messed up. Cahokia Heights now, which was formerly Centerville, Allerton, and Cahokia. But many people, there's been a population shift. That shift has happened in Belleville, O'Fallon, you can even say Swansea, and all of the above, okay? And the brothers and sisters, the Blacks, in that area really has not been involved in the political process, simply because the white precinct minimums up there would not allow, didn't want to go to their houses, didn't want to knock on their doors, didn't want them really to come out, because if that happened, what would happen? If those people up in those neighborhoods would wake up, darkness, look what's going to happen. There would be some Blacks running for office up there. You see what I mean?
Right.
So I have been thinking a lot about how do we get involved in the outer areas, okay? And I decided that our organization, the East St. Louis Democratic Central Committee, we haven't gotten our fair share. We win candidates. They bring us candidates. Some of them we don't even know, but we win them.
Let me ask you a question. What is our fair share? What is our fair share?
What should be our fair share? We should be equal to ones that are in office up there in Bellevue. we should get the services that we should get. The same as they would put in Belleville or Fallon, where we should receive those services. Our fair share should be equal job opportunity. Our fair share should be some of the contracts that exist up there in Belleville, in the state of Illinois, and then the federal government. Those are our fair share. Our fair share that will help our people live a decent life. And those are the things that that we're fighting for. And if we can get into the political process, those are the things I think can be delivered to us as a people, as East St. Louis, as Washington Park, as Cahokia Heights.
Okay, so it's a socioeconomic problem that you foresee with reference to St. Clair County, even the state of Illinois, that you feel that we should be participating in. And at this point, you feel that we're not. So your voter registration drive is started to do what in its holistic, in a holistic way.
Well, what is happening, Lee, with us getting involved outside of the city of East St. Louis or Washington Park, Cahokia Heights? You know, I have to keep repeating those because basically that's our base. Okay. Outside of that, our people who are now beginning to run for office need the support. And we've got to get those out there in those areas I spoke of earlier, involved in the political process, voting for candidates. And we've got to take them some good candidates. And I believe that we are. I believe we have some good candidates that we can take to them. That means that we got to get to their houses, knock at their doors, get the information to them. Because we do have what they call an informational drought. If you know what I'm trying to say here, we only got one weekly paper, and the Belleville News Democrat very seldom, until there's an election, say anything about us in the political process. So the idea that I have, or the vision that I have, is that we're going up into Belleville, up into those areas I spoke of, and we're going to knock doors, and we're going to identify some of those brothers and sisters that are there. Not only there in that area that I talked about, also in East St. Louis. Do you realize that the last 3 elections, 4,200 people did not vote in the last 3 elections? And they're still on the road. Our question is, are they still in East St. Louis, or have they moved to some other area? We also want to identify those, and we're going to do what we call contact tracing. We're going to go and find them. We're going to let them know that they can get into the political process, and they don't have to worry about coming back to East St. Louis to vote. We don't want them to do that. We want them to vote where their home is.
Do you think voter apathy, because we need to talk about the power of the African-American vote in St. Clair County. We are a third of the population out of 245 or 50,000. We are a third. And usually, correct me if I'm wrong, the Democratic Party, is, the people who run on a county ticket, even on some state offices, they're losing until they get to 89th and State Street by 4,000 or 5,000 votes. And when they get below the hill, we call it the below the hill vote, they pick up 4,000 and then they win by 4,000. So we need to talk about how important it is that the tail does not wag the dog.
There you go. I mean, we see each election, no matter who they give us, we sell them down here in East St. Louis and the other areas that we talked about. We take them in their houses, we knock at your door, and we'd say to them, these are good candidates. You know, I think that we're going to have to start saying to the people, and it might be a little late for me because I'm getting in age, but the young folk, we got to try to reach them. And I think we got to put that light in their heads that, hey, look, you have an opportunity to vote. But if we don't start voting and putting the people in office that we can work with, what is going to happen is that we're going to lose everything that we've got. Number one, if we allow them to gerrymander our precincts.
But let's talk about that, Frank, because we used to have, what, 52 precincts? Now it's down to
That was
25 in East St. Louis, and there was a move afoot not too long ago to even reduce that to 13, am I right?
You're correct. And had we not have some of our people on there that felt that we should not do that, then it was good. The lawyer for the East St. Louis Board of Election was pushing to reduce the precincts. And we found out that the legislation said we can either do or we didn't have to. And so what we did, we began to hold things as status quo. We still have 25 precincts, but we still need to show that we have these people in the community. Now, every area of the city has people in them. And every area of this city has a precinct committee, Democrat. And if we go in these houses, we can count people that the census didn't count. We got way more people than what the census is showing at this time. And there were a couple of reasons why. Number one, hey, let's face it, COVID. People didn't want you in their homes. They didn't let those, what they call enumerators, they didn't let them in their homes because everybody was afraid. They were, I think you were too, and other people in the area were afraid to just let a stranger in your home because you didn't know what they had. And that was the same thing. And I think we have been greatly undercounted, Lee. And I think one way we can show we've been undercounted by having this fierce, intense voters registration drive.
Okay, you said a few minutes ago that they have an opportunity to vote. Not only do they should have the opportunity to vote, but it's their obligation to vote. After the civil rights movement, we fought to get the right to vote. And even after we got it, now people are trying to suppress our votes in some states. They're passing laws to suppress it. So it's so important because we can realize the power that we have in St. Clair County with reference to electing county officials that look like us, that we have to get out, get registered, and vote. So let's talk about specifically how your program, Get Out to Vote 2022, how does it work? How does it get started? And walk us through how you're going to do this.
Well, we've already started. We've identified already a number of people in Belleville that we're training, that's going through our training courses in terms of learning how to address the people when they go to their doors, and also how to register people, we're going through that now. It's going to be like a 2-week course, and our people started this morning working on that.
And there will be deputy registers, right?
I've got a team. I got a team of people in the office, the Democratic headquarters at 7606 State Street, that will help anyone that want to register or want to be a deputy register. They can come and we will work with them and get them deputy registers. Right now, we've got some deputy registers. We're looking for others. But what they're doing, they're knocking doors. And what they're doing, they're letting the people know the political process. They're letting them know where their polling place is at. Do you realize there are some people outside of this city in Belleville and different places don't even know where to go vote? So we're gonna, instruct them and inform them where they go, where they should be going to vote. We're gonna have a number of events also, Lee, here in East St. Louis, hopefully Belleville, and some in Alton, where we're gonna try to attract the 18 to 34 vote. Okay, we've organized a group here in our organization called the Young Democrats in East St. Louis, and that group is the whole intent purpose is to try to register and get that 18 to 34 involved in the political process here, and that will also take place in some of the other communities I've named before.
That'd be great. So do you have the support of the mayors in those particular cities and other political figures?
No, we don't have names of them. You know what's happening? They probably up there in the office shaking now because here we come. The thing that they didn't want to happen, they did not want a lot of these people up there registered to vote, like around Freedom Drive. You know what I'm talking? Over to what is that? Around White Side's Food, Glen Addy, Glen Eddy has how many apartment buildings out there that all blacks have moved into now? At first, it was for the airmen out of Scott Air Force Base, but now with the second Section 8 package, a lot of them are now in Glen Eddy, right? And those people up there are not being informed about the political process. They don't even know who their precinct commitment is, or if they've got a precinct commitment. And that's another thing too, Lee. If you would take the list of guys that have registered to be precinct commitment in Belleville, O'Fallon, what have you, you will see that a lot of white guys are not running. They're not filling the position for precinct commitment for Democrats. Okay, and it has been the tradition that anywhere there's no Democratic commitment, that someone from Labor will go in there and act in the stead 2 weeks before the election. This is why we're losing elections up there, okay? But now we're beginning to wake up 30% of that population. And that 30% voting is shaking them to their bones. They don't want it.
Okay, so two questions. We need to make sure that the listeners understand the power of voting, that 30, as much as we can of that 30% of the population that we represent. What does that bring us? If we get out and vote, we certainly can win, but what's the benefit of that? What does it bring us?
Well, one thing is going to show that we do have that voting power, okay? Which at that time, would afford us the opportunity to request certain things. Number one, if you go to the Secretary of State's office, say for instance, do you see us in the Secretary of State's office? Do you see us in the governor's office? Or anywhere in the state of Illinois and Springfield, any of our people from here involved there? It will give us that recognition. It will give us that thing that, hey, you can't come to St. Clair County unless you deal with everyone that's down below you. And that has to be impressed on them. And they will get services. Some of our people not only just need services, they need some training. At 1834 is kind of like a invisible group of people. And we know they are not invisible. They are there. They are existing. Many of those are committing little small crimes and whatever. That might be speeding tickets that a lot of them have on them. Whatever the reason is, it shouldn't be. Some of those tickets that these guys are getting, and our kids are getting and running their lives shouldn't be, man. We've got to put some people up there in Belleville in the judges' seats. Okay, someone that will recognize who we are in the prosecutor's seat, that can recognize and say, let's give this guy a break rather than putting a burden on him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got a question. And that's so important that we don't ruin these children, these young people with these tickets, whereas in other communities, the police sit down and say, let me talk to you, go home. Let's send you home to your parent. Don't get into trouble or go home, but they write us tickets. Where's the clergy? Because in my life and in the history of Black people, the clergy was so important. I don't see that. How do we get the clergy engaged in this? Frank, it's so important to have the clergy.
Yeah, well, what is happening is we're working with the NAACP, Bobby Betts, who also is our statistician here in the Democratic Party in East St. Louis, is the chairman of the Political Action Committee of the NAACP. So we're working hand in hand with the NAACP, and they're going to church to church to church, informing everyone about the importance of getting out and vote. And we do have the pastors getting involved, that think that voting and registering these people vote, a lot of them are really for that. And a lot of times no one went to them and say, look, let's get involved in this. They see the importance of it, It would be a shame, man.
But Frank, I'd like to see more activist clergy. I know you're saying they're getting involved. People are going to the churches asking for their support. But back in the day, we had activist preachers.
Yeah. They led the movement. But at the same time,
we should have. And no, this is prime time because
But see, at the same time that we had them out there involved, they were following the guy who showed them the way and said nonviolence, and they were involved with that nonviolent movement. A lot of these pastors that are existing, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but they are complacent because all they want to do is try to protect their church and make sure their bills are paid, make sure this happens. And they're not sure on what ground they're walking on, okay? And it has to take somebody, Lee, and I'm not saying that I'm that somebody, but it has to take somebody who's willing to step out front and say, hey, these are things that my people need.
And you know that,
and make sure that they receive what you're saying you're doing.
That is so important because you know, I'm a former compliance officer for IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation. There are going to be tremendous opportunities coming forth with the infrastructure bills that were passed. And Senator Claiborne and I, along with Dr. Mason at the time, and MOCAM, we got training dollars for our people, not only in the construction area, but also in the professional services area. And we're entitled to those dollars by federal mandate. And I want you to know today that this station and the organization that I represent, the St. Clair County Black Chamber of Commerce, we're here as a vehicle for you to use if we're going to be about the business of making sure that our tax dollars are representative of what we get in return for it. And we are paying the taxes, and we should reap the benefits, not only on a local level, but a county level and a state level and a federal level. So we're here for you as a soapbox to speak from, and you have my commitment to work to make sure our social economic conditions improve as we pay these high taxes. And proportionately, poor people pay more tax dollars than the upper and the middle and upper class. So we're entitled to that.
That's true. That's very true. The thing is, Lee, is that we've got to put people in office that has the same belief that we have, that say they have the same belief that we have. We got to start having those elected officials accountable to us.
Absolutely.
And the only way we can have them accountable to us, they got to see that we produce the vote for them. And they got to understand that, hey, if you're not accountable, we'll take that vote and turn it against you. You see what I mean?
Frank, you know what?
And this is the only way. It's got to be check and balance.
You know,
okay.
It's interesting having this conversation because, to be honest, this is the right conversation, but in a sense, it's risque. I'm gonna tell you why. When people usually speak out like you do, and like I did at IDOT, we're punished.
Oh yeah.
And our people are afraid to be associated with us because it goes back to the slavery mentality, what they call meritorious manumission. You know, if
now
you still out,
use the word I know anything about me, okay? You're over my head now, bro.
But I'm just saying they've put this on us, and you get rewarded for not being an activist.
Right.
But we have to step up. I'm willing to step up, and I've done it all my life. You know it. I know you've done it.
Right.
And people might attempt to punish you for what you're doing, but it's bigger than you and I. It's these young people coming up. We got to press upon them that you must get out here and do what they did in the 50s and 60s. These young people got out there, and the young people was the backbone of the civil rights movement. They gave us the opportunity to do some of the things we're doing now. Last thing I want to say, a lot of people who are walking into doors, they don't realize who opened those doors for them. When I pass by a young brother and he see this gray hair, a young brother, he doesn't speak. I say, hey, brother, can I stop you for a second? I said, you just walked by a black man and you didn't acknowledge me. I'm a senior citizen. I'll be 70 in 8 days. I said to them, if not for me, you wouldn't be. You're walking into the YMCA, you got this job, and you think you just had your degree and you got it because you earned it. Even your college education, people died for you to have that right to do that. And I tell them this, Frank, when an elder dies, African proverb says, a library has been burnt to the ground. So they must realize that. We need to make these young people understand that process and that.
You know, and lead that's one of our toughest jobs, is to try to get these young folk out and get them involved in the process, because it's a lot of those people haven't been counted in the census either. They don't think it's important, but they've got to understand that it is important. And again, Lee, you said speaking out the way I am doing now, I'm already feeling the repercussions in my organization. Somebody's been able to come in behind me in my back door and convince somebody that they will be a better chairman than I am. And that's fine, because see, look, the movement don't die with one man. You see what I mean? If once we can open up the doors of this thing, these young folk gonna be clamoring and doing the same thing we got planted out there. I'm not gonna stop Lee because they come in and say they want another chairman, and because they've been paid to say that. Okay, I'm not gonna stop because of that. I'm gonna fight harder. Okay, I'm going to continue this movement, because this is where we need to be. We need to be in that outer area where there's the funds. We need to be out in the outer area where our tax dollars are fixing streets and what have you. We need to be out there in that outer area where people are working at the airport and doing the things they're doing to make a decent living. I don't have any problem with them making a decent living, but allow us to have the same thing that they've got. And yes, I will be punished before what I'm saying. But Lee, how many times have I been punished? You see what I'm saying?
Hey, I worked as I died.
You can't
for 15
it's
years.
only so much you can do to a guy, you know. And being 76 years old, I got great grandkids now, and I've been marching a long time. I've been sitting in a long time, but I've never been to the point where I can have an active political force. Okay, and whether I'm chairman of this or not, I've always been chairman. I'll create something else to fight with, you know, until the good Lord calls me home. Okay, because that's in my blood. I believe in it. I believe people have a right, and that's and it started with me being in Vietnam.
Let me stop you right there. You believe they have a right, but a belief is something that's not proven. It's a fact that they should have the right. Yeah. But how do we convince them because of the oppression that we've endured? A lot of people think post-slavery traumatic syndrome doesn't exist, but it does. Sometimes we don't even think we deserve it, but you're paying proportionately more taxes than the affluent people. We deserve this. It's ours. This is our money. And you're not going to discriminate against us with our money. But they've got to understand that that's a fact. This is for you. That's what we're fighting for. Like you say, our days are numbered. I'm 70 and you're 76. But we have a wealth of knowledge and energy to give to them. And we have to start giving them that. We need to start organizing young people to come out and listen to us talk about what you're entitled to. Even, here's the thing, Frank, being an EEO officer for IDOT for 15 years, I had a chance to study the Code of Federal Regulations and Title 6 and Section 8. Do you know that white senators and federal House of Representative members voted to give you the right not to be discriminated against? We're not taking advantage of it?
Right.
Because we don't believe that we deserve it, and we don't know that we have that power. But I'm sitting here, I'm letting you know that I'm here to help you get that message across.
And that's what we need. We need someone like yourself, as I quoted earlier, that we've got an informational desert. Okay, people are not getting the information. That's one of the reasons that they're complacent. Okay, so we're gonna not try, but we are gonna get the information out to them. And this is a good vehicle that you have here, Lee. And I want to thank you for allowing me to come on. And I want to say this also, Lee. I'm not against anyone living decent. Every human being should have a right to live a decent life. What I don't like is they don't allow us as people, black folk, the right to make a decent living. And until we get into the political process and put people that think the way we think in office, we're going to have that complacency. Because we see, once we get in office, we can deliver the services that they need. You know, whether and it don't necessarily have to be us in office. I love to see that. But if we can show the white folk how we put them in office and that we can take them out if we can't get the fair share that we should be getting. When I walk up to Belleville, to the county building, everybody gets to whisper, here come Frank Smith. Wonder what he's talking about now. Okay.
You dare win what you deserve.
I'm talking about some jobs. I'm talking about, I'm tired of seeing my young brothers when I go up there on a Monday morning, standing in line because they got tickets that they shouldn't have gotten. I'm tired of seeing them over there in the family court because they're unable to pay for the baby that they have. I'm tired of seeing that, Lee. I'm tired of seeing the fact that they're up there in court because they couldn't pay a bill that was given to them because they don't have opportunity to work. And all we are asking for is that opportunity. And by getting into the political process in St. Clair County,
that's how you do it. Man. That's how you do it.
It's shaking them up.
The way you do it is they already know your value. That's why they're trying to suppress the Black vote across this country with draconian voting restrictions. They know that. They know the numbers are against them. So we have the numbers here in St. Clair County. And we need to work together across from city to city with the clergy and with other members of our communities to make sure that we are unapologetically Black and we represent our people, just like the Hispanics represent Hispanics, just like they represent their people. We don't need to apologize because we are for Blacks getting their fair share. There's nothing wrong with that. And they understand that. That's why there's the fear that we may come together. We need to come together and the tail will start wagging the dog. That's not to put out, I shouldn't have to pre-qualify this. We don't hate anybody. We just want to make sure that we get our fair share.
That we get our fair share. And it's going to take a lot of work in the next 60 days to vote the number that I've been bragging that we were going to vote. Okay, I've sold these candidates that are running out there now, and I think we got some good ones. I've sold them the idea that we can vote 21,000 Black votes in St. Clair County. And the way that we're going to do that is the apparatus that I spoke of earlier. We got to, number one, identify where that 4,200 is at right now, the first thing. And then after that, we got to get into those areas up there that can't get the information. We got to get the information into those houses. And the way that we're going to do that is having boots on the ground and knocking the doors. And another thing, I know the only way that we can get the volunteers we need, the best volunteer is a paid volunteer. So we expect to have some funds that we can kind of take care of some stipends for some of those that volunteer to help us to get into those houses.
Your goal is 10,000 new registered voters by election time.
Yeah, that's my goal. And voting, and the thing is that we've got to bring the vote out in St. Louis. We got to bring the vote out in Cahokia Heights. We've got to bring it out in Washington Park, and we're all working together now. Along with the vote that we get up out of Belleville, we will have that 21,000 if we just work together.
Okay, Mr. Smith, you have my support. If there's anything we could do on this channel, we'll do it. As I said, we have our YouTube channel, and people know me. Well, like I said, we did public access a few years back, and I also wrote in the Monitor a few years back. So I'm here to help my people. And I don't
well, that's what you can do. What you can do, Lee, is become the information officer for us to be able to get that information out.
You got
and
that.
If you would assume that role,
you
would assume that role. I'm not only talking about the role on your television here. I'm talking about the roles and press releases and what have you. We got to flood the area with information.
you got my commitment. We'll sit down and talk in person on how we approach that.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Smith, look here, I really appreciate it. And look, we're gonna do this. We're gonna talk again next week. We're gonna discuss the progress of your movement. And if anyone else would join us, we would like to talk to them and so forth and so on. So I really appreciate you coming on. It's a pleasure. I've been knowing you and your family for 100 of years. The whole family, Elijah and all those guys, I know all of them.
Yeah.
And I know of your activism, which is not a negative word, it's a good word. So until we meet again, my brother, peace.
Peace, my brother.
Okay, take care. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.